Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rune Snow, and we're going to be exploring Magic the Gathering top 10 castles. Actually, believe it or not, there's not a lot of castles in the Magic world, so let's just begin with the top 10. And now, at number 10. And now at number 10, we have Castle Sengir. It's from Homelands, and it is uncommon. Again, the reason why it's here is because we're talking about castles, and this is the only castle that offers available 3 lands. So it adds black, blue, and red, but it actually costs mana to get the mana. Again, that is not a very impressive dual land card at all in the Magic world, but it is on the top 10 list for top 10 castles in the Magic Gathering. Other than that, there is absolutely no reason for this card to be on any other list. It's a cool picture. I like the moon and the background and everything, but other than that, it's not very impressive. But let's move on to number 9. And at number 9, we have Castle, what the whole thing is about. It's basically in all the sets, base sets, so it's like 7th and 8th edition. And it's an uncommon, it's the only common that's on this series. And it says untapped creatures you control get +0/+2, which is actually really good. The castle, again, hence offers defense. So therefore, your untapped creatures get +2 defense. Makes total sense. And it's really not bad. It costs 4 mana to do, and it says our castle strength will laugh as siege is scorned. Pretty cool. And it's from William Shakespeare, Macbeth. Again, little touches like that make this card very well, and this castle card come in. Yes, it's an enchantment, so it's not actually technically a castle, but if you look it up, it's actually called castle. Anyway, I just thought this should be on the list. Again, it's all right, not too bad. So let's move on to number 8. And next we have Ancient Ziggurat from the Premium Deck Series Slivers, and it is an uncommon. It's a really cool card, and it's from an unusual series, Premium Deck Series Slivers. But the reason why it's here is, as you can see, it says add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells, which is very good if you're casting, obviously, a creature deck. Maybe not so well if you do blue or red, which is mostly casting cards. And this is a cheaper version of, say, a dual land, or you don't want to pay 2 life, or just flat out search your library for a land card. This is a very good card. It's not very expensive to get, and again, it's here because you want to be able to cast creatures with the most available land you can do. So let's move on to number 7. And the next card we have is Castle Ardenvale from Throne of Eldraine, and it's a rare, and you will see on this list basically every rare land from that series because they're all castles, which makes this video possible. And as you can see, it comes in tapped unless you control planes, but it has that ability 4 mana to create that 1/1 human creature token. The reason why it's here at number 7 is, well, because it costs 4 to get that 1/1 in, but again, it can be very helpful if you have any kind of, the opponent has creature destruction or any kind of thing. You can just keep pumping those 1/1s out for any specific reasons. There are lots of reasons. And it's basically very hard to destroy lands. This is why it's here, because you create those 1/1s, and you can just keep pumping them up. It's really cool. So you just have to wait a turn to put it out from your second turn and play it, and then begin creating 1/1s. If you have no cards to play, you get a free creature. So let's move on to number 6. At number 6, we have Gargoyle Castle. It's from the Commander 2019 series, and it is a rare, and it's a very unusual card because it's not very commonly played. It costs 5 mana to get that sacrifice, create a 3/4 colors Gargoyle artifact creature token with flying. Very good for a castle card, which is why it's on this list. Overall, this card is not that great for castles. It's a really good card. You can pay 5 to get that 3/4, and your deck can be based on artifacts, or there's a few rare cards, gargoyles, in the series. 3/4, not very impressive. Adds colorless, doesn't even add mana. But again, it is number 6 because of sacrificing creating a creature. Again, as I just said 100 million times, this is not a very impressive card, but for the list of top 10 castles, this is a very good castle card. Let's move on to number 5. And halfway down our list is Castle Embereth, as you can see, and it's from the Throne series, and it is a rare, as you know. Comes into play tapped unless you control the mount, like most castles in the series. And it was a really cool card. The reason why it's here at halfway down our list is because it gives your creatures +1/+0. Very good card, especially when the time of release of this card, there was a lot of aggro red decks, so this card by turn 6 would pump like all those 1/1s, 2/2s, or whatever, and you can attack them and hopefully kill a person. This is why it's here, because it can pump those fast creatures right. Again, you can use it any time, but generally when this card was released, it was meant for those red aggro decks. So let's move on to number 4. And next we have Castle Garenbrig. As you can see, it is from Throne, and it is a rare as well. And the typical ability comes into play tapped unless you control the forest. And why it's here at number 4 is really cool. It says, pay 4, add 6 mana of the forest. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. So that's really cool. So you get, like, say, you want to pump out a stone coil. You're paying 4 for a 6/6. You can't beat that. That's very, very impressive. I'm surprised this card hasn't been used more. Maybe will become popular again in Vintage. Who knows? But again, for castles, this is why it's here. The picture doesn't really look like a castle. Maybe it's an Elganjo Castle. I don't know. But again, this is why it's here because of the ability. So let's move on to number 3. Next on the list, we have Castle Vantress. Again, from the Throne series, as well as a rare. Not shocking. And look at that card. Pretty cool picture. I just like that picture in itself. Best castle picture out there. And it costs 4 to scry 2. That can be very helpful for any kind of deck. If you want to, say, build a counter deck, you can always scry 2 to get those counters right away, or anything at all. Scrying is a very powerful tool, I think, in the Magic world. This is why it's up here on the list. But there are still 2 more castles that are greater than all this, so let's move on to number 2 quickly. And at number 2, we have Elganjo Castle from Champions of Kamigawa. Apologize if I said that wrong, and it is a rare, and you may not agree with my choice, but I think it is actually that should be at number 2 on the list because it's very cool. With all the legendary stuff out, it says, for 1 white mana, prevent the next 2 damage that will be dealt to target legendary creature this turn. I think that ability alone, outside of just being a castle, is very impressive because almost every deck in Standard has legendary creatures. And having this land out, which is ironically a legendary land, putting it in play would be very, very helpful, especially against bird decks, creatures, anything. Preventing 2 damage, that is just beyond great for castles. But we're going to move on to number 1 because this is going to be the number 1 castle of all. So let's move on to number 1. And the best castle, as you can see out of all of them, is Castle Locthwain. Again, not surprising, it is from the Throne series and it is rare and cannot be placed on the battlefield tapped unless you control a swamp. Shocker, shocker. But it costs 3 mana to draw a card, and then you lose life equal to a number of cards in your hand. Very good. You can keep drawing cards over and over again, minus the draw phase. So you can get 2 cards a turn, just lose your life. Whoop-de-doo. Like you can do creatures to gain life, whatever you choose. This life is just another tool in Magic until you can win 1 life or 20 life. Doesn't matter. This is why this card is very impressive. It is number 1, and I recommend this as even not just outside the castle deck. Just build a black deck with this. You can keep drawing cards. This is why it's number 1. I hope you enjoy the top 10. And if there's any more videos you like, just keep watching them on the channel. I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening.